So we were going to do a big podcast topic for this week because kind of think we're going to be doing that for a while.
Yeah, just
We
shaking
have
things
one,
up because nothing's happening.
yeah, yeah, we have one planned when we get more people here. I will kind of just tease it. I think I want to talk about underrated actors and or our favorite directors at one point, especially when
Mm,
we get Tori. So we have three very different groups of filmmakers we're all going to reference and actors and stuff.
yeah.
But for this week, since Tori is not a horror fan, but me and you both have a soft spot for probably very different type of horror movies as well.
Hmm.
Um, we're going to be talking about, to me, horror movies that really impact us. Ones that are our favorites, even if they're not a favorite, ones you respect. Like, I'll throw off one. Like, I'm not the biggest Rosemary's Baby fan. Polanski's a piece of shit,
Yeah.
but goddamn it, it is a impactful movie. What he does scares wise, what he does acting like everything is so well made in that film. I mean, a horror nomination there for the Oscars there too. So yeah, stuff like that. I want to bring up stuff that we like. I have a very strange list that I've collected of stuff that I was thinking about, even remakes that are great as well. So yeah, I wanted to dive into some horror movies with you, and I think this would make a really great mini as well of just trying to grab horror fans and everyone can tell us your favorite horror movies and which ones that we're wrong about and stuff like that. So yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah, I'm into this.
I,
Um,
I want you to start though,
okay.
'cause I have the crazier list.
Yeah, mine's probably not nearly as crazy. I am certainly not as well versed in the world of horror as you are, but I do have a bit of a list here. I think probably the first thing I'll start off with here is Alien. The
Ooh,
original, the
oh man,
1979 Ridley Scott directed Alien.
both of our first ones we're going to be mentioning are 70s movies, so that's a little hint of what mine's going to be.
Oh, nice. Um, yeah, I just,
So what about Alien though?
I mean, this is probably the first. This kind of stealth got me into horror movies as a
Hmm.
young one because I don't know if I processed how much of a horror movie this was as a kid. I was definitely scared by it, but
I mean,
it,
it's a straight up slasher movie.
yeah, it
Like
is.
there's one alien hunting down a crew of just dumb people, like minus like Ripley, but yeah, it's a straight up horror movie, which is why I don't like the sequels. Sorry to the Aliens fans out there, not
Oh
my kind of
yeah,
movie.
no, I do not like Aliens nearly as much. Like Aliens is
It's a good movie, like
it's yeah,
well
it's a good
made,
action movie, but
but they're night and day kind of movies.
yeah, it's not the same. Like it does not stack up for me at all. Um, but yeah, no, just an absolute big fan of Alien. I'm stayed a fan of the franchise for the most part, but of course that the first one will always be my favorite. It's just great. Sigourney Weaver's great in it. It's a slasher slash haunted house film
Hmm.
in space. So just a good time.
One of my favorite scenes in that movie is the one with the cat, just kind of watching her get murdered.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
that's
God,
fucked
or
up.
him.
It's
I forgot
good.
which one is the
It
death
it
in that.
it's a guy
Yes.
whenever I can't remember who it is. I think it's is it the captain? I can't remember.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's such a haunting scene, and like again, cats kind of scared me, so I think that always like they would be kind of passive in this moment.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing, but yeah, that movie's genuinely one of the scariest things ever. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good
all right,
time.
so I'm gonna jump to my 70s one. It is about 4 years earlier than yours. It
Uh-huh.
is Jaws, which happens to be my favorite. I would say my favorite horror movie, actually my favorite movie of all time. Horror movie's a little bit different. My favorite movie of all time is Jaws, bar none. I don't even like Spielberg. That's my fun thing. I'm not a Spielberg fan. I don't like him as a human, really. He's not bad, but his views on the industry I'm not in love with.
Yeah. I
But
feel that.
this movie, and I will hell, even Duel, I actually like too. His first movie that is just Jaws, but with truckers. Really good. But Jaws is, I think, a perfect movie. It has amazing effects, an amazing score, great acting. It is every genre at one time. The movie is hilarious, scary, an action movie, a drama about family, this weird political thriller because the mayor is the president of our country right now. Um, it's just insane of what everything is in Jaws and what it can do, what it did for film, not just being the first summer blockbuster, which is insane. I love that it is. I love the horror movie is why we have summer movies. But just what this movie did culturally, I'm too young to have been there seeing Jaws in the theaters, but my mom told me they were scared to go into the pool after this movie. Movies don't do that anymore.
No.
Movies don't scare, and I think Alien did it as well. The Exorcist is another movie from that era that like it changed your life. Like you were scared to do things because of these movies. That doesn't happen anymore, and I think Jaws is beautifully acted with some of my favorite quotes. Every time I take a shot of liquor, I say, "This is to swim in with bow-legged women." Um, it's just that movie is my life. It's why I went to film school. Minus John Waters is the other reason because seeing him let me know I could be a filmmaker. But Jaws is it. Like I credit it for a lot in my life.
Yeah, that's fair, and I agree with that. That movie creeped me out as a kid. Like, yeah.
I even think the effects still work to this day. There's just something about Bruce that looks so good in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does. Like, practical effects from then have just aged fairly well, especially the ones that were well put together. So.
Oh, I mean, the Xenomorph from the original one looks great, and that's just a dude in a suit. Like,
yeah.
But I would rather watch him than any of the CGI'd parasites that we get in, like, Covenant and all that, so.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree. I think another one that I'll have to go with is going way back. Would be the original. And I've talked about it several times on this podcast, and in any time Universal horror movies have come up, Universal monster movies have come up. The Mummy, the original, like what's it? Why can't I think of his name?
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff. Yes. Yeah, that original Mummy. That's a creepy movie.
It's haunting.
It is, like, more so than Frankenstein or Dracula from that era, which I still think are incredible movies and hold up well, but like, they're not as creepy to modern audiences. But I think that first Mummy movie still is.
Well, yeah, and I think because we've only gotten more digging into things that we shouldn't be. We've only gotten more culturally insensitive, oddly enough. So I think that movie really does touch on a lot of stuff then to what it does now, and it's just a good performance. I agree with you. Like, I love the Invisible Man from the back then, but he's a straight up comedy character. Like, he is insane, and it's scary, but he is insane.
Yeah.
Like, where this movie's just, it's moody and atmospheric, and I like Dracula for being gothic. It's not scary.
No.
Frankenstein, I think the idea of Frankenstein's scarier than the actual movie itself. Yes. I love this movie and it inspired me a lot too, but I think The Mummy is probably the scariest of the OG ones.
Yeah, and you get just that haunting glare from Karloff. It's just fucking incredible. I love that movie. That definitely makes my top 10 of favorite movies of all time.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, I like that. Just favorite movies, not just horror. I like that. So I'm going to jump to one that also transcends my horror list of favorite movies in general. Jumping up decades. I mean, going from Your Mummy to 1996, Scream.
Okay.
Scream taught me references. I think Wes Craven is still one of the masters of meta. Mm-hmm. I go back to a movie I don't even love from him, Scream 3. The Carrie Fisher scene in Scream 3 is genius, where she's playing a woman who looks like Carrie Fisher, and she says, no, the one who slept with George Lucas is the one who got the role. That's Wes Craven. Like, that's him getting Carrie Fisher to bash Carrie Fisher. Like, meta king. But going back to that first one, it's I think such a great satire, such a great actual horror movie, because I don't understand why they made the scary movies. I like them in their own parody route.
Yeah, but
Scream was already
it's already that. Yeah.
And it's so smart, so good, still really creepy, and I think it was one of those first times where you start questioning your friends. Like the killer isn't Jason or Freddy, these wronged monsters, or Chucky, that's a serial killer. It's just your friends who go crazy. And in your small niche little town, I really think that movie is still creepy with his being as fun and all the references. And God, that movie's so smart. One of the smartest movies I'll probably mention out of any of this ones, especially when I get into Rob Zombie. But smart. This movie is smart, and I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, that first one, that's a series that I kind of don't understand why it's a series. I I mean, I know some people like some of the sequels, and they're fine. I'm not calling them bad movies. I haven't seen 3 or 4. They didn't make a 5th one, did they?
The TV show is considered the 5th one.
Okay.
Bad. Skip that.
Okay.
There is rumored to be a 5th one coming out. If they get Nev Campbell, I'll be there. We'll see.
Other than that, you're out.
But what is she doing other than being in Skyscraper with The Rock? So truly, what is she doing?
Yeah, why not?
Get them all in it. Get Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Give my 90s Scream Queens in that movie. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, I could get behind that. And plus they need a redemption because wasn't 4 fucking terrible?
I don't mind 4. 3's atrocious. Like, I think 3 has Jay and Silent Bob in it. Like,
oh yeah,
it's pure Weinstein Miramax. It was also in production during Columbine, so they had to like shift it, and it's more of a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one suffers a lot from like, and also it was one of the first times a script leaked on the internet. So Wes, being Wes Craven, completely rewrote this movie like in mid-production, because it leaked. Right. But again, that's early leaks, which is sounded crazy. Like, I think the movie's 2001, maybe 2000. That movie was.
Yeah.
So again, we've been leaking stuff since then. Insane.
Yeah. Something that brought up for me that I didn't write down on my original list, but is definitely one of my favorite horror movies, and is from Wes Craven. The Last House on the Left.
I thought you were going to say Cursed, starring Christina Ricci and Jesse Eisenberg, but you did not. Wow.
I never saw Cursed.
Don't. It's bad, but also it's Wes Craven in the 2000s with Christina Ricci. My gay ass was there. No, Last House on the Left is terrifying, and I have a soft spot for a genre that I'm not proud of having a soft spot for. Mm-hmm. I like rape and revenge movies. The feminist in me always thought they were very empowering. Some feminists think the complete opposite. That's not this kind of conversation. I think it's awesome, and that movie's also about parents getting revenge too, which is even doper. Like,
yeah, it's fucking like it's a rager. That one's a hard watch, but it's fucking good. It's unsettling.
There's a scene after the 3 killers do, I think, one of the rapings, one of the 55 in that movie. It feels like, and they're just looking at each other after, and they're all kind of like, "We did that. We're not happy." But we did that. It's such a weird moment where, like, they felt human in a moments where they weren't feeling so human. Yeah. And they were just like, we're gross. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you guys are. Like, that movie's...
Yeah, it's unsettling. It's unsettling, and it's very real horror to where you're just like, oh, these people exist. It's a good one though. Like, I probably would, if I had thought about it, put it on my list. Now I'm looking at a list of Wes Craven movies, and we could do a whole fucking episode on Wes Craven. Like, he
is one of, I mean, A New Nightmare was the first meta horror movie before Scream. Like, I mean, he's one of the best, and oddly doesn't have the biggest filmography. But, like, isn't Serpent on the Rainbow in there as well?
Yeah,
like,
I was about to... Serpent in the Rainbow is fucking great.
It's just insane. Hills Have Eyes. Like, he is an absolute icon. And when we lost him, he died fairly young, too. Like, you know, youngish kind of thing. That was a true icon.
Years back. 2015, yeah.
Yeah, he was a true great guy in horror, and, like, I've never understood someone who, like, he helped invent slashers with Nightmare on Elm Street and then made fun of them 10, 15 years later with his own version of a slasher. It's just I like John Carpenter a lot too, as that era of geniuses. Wes Craven, I think, blows a lot of them out of the water. Maybe Romero being ahead of his time as well was another one.
Yeah.
Which Romero did more outside of the zombies, other than Monkey Shines.
Yeah.
Weird reference for everyone if they ever remember Monkey Shines. Showing my age there.
Yeah, I don't. But,
I wanted a monkey myself. Okay, so Monkey Shines was a movie. It's a guy who quadriplegic is from the neck down, right?
Yeah.
This movie stars a quadriplegic who gets a pet monkey to help him around the house, and the monkey becomes obsessed with him and starts killing people like Misery. It's insane. It's a Wes Craven movie.
Jesus.
No, sorry, it's a George Romero movie in the '90s. Check it
Yeah.
out. Like it's trash, but yeah. So yeah, no, Craven is awesome. I'm glad that you brought him up.
Yeah. You brought him up, but
Well, you furthered it with
spun
Last
it
House on the
off. Yeah.
Left, and then I was just oh, now I'm just like you said, going into him, he has a filmography. So I'm gonna jump to real quick to a different country.
Okay.
We don't get to talk about a lot of foreign films on here. I'm gonna mention my first ever foreign movie, not just horror movie. This was my first time watching a foreign film. It was a little bit after 1999 it came out. Was Audition. I saw it maybe like 2003. I was like 13 or
Uh huh.
so. Um, Audition, a Japanese horror movie created by Takashi Miike, who, if anyone doesn't know who he has over 100 directing credits.
Yeah.
Takashi Miike
He.
is an insane person,
Yeah. He also did like Ichi the Killer and
which is
several
on
other
my list
things.
as well. Ichi the Killer is one of my favorite splatter movies ever, one of my favorite superhero movies in a weird way, because that movie dives into that.
Yeah.
I can't believe Christopher Nolan ripped off the main character from Ichi the Killer for his Joker and never gave that movie credit for it. I hate that he did that. Also, fun fact for you, I don't know if you've ever seen Ichi the Killer.
I have. We did a,
The guy who's
four color film
the guy who's
episode on it.
playing Kakihara in that is playing Raiden in the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie.
Is he is that the guy with the cuts and everything?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's also in those Thor movies, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I think he's one of the three that's with Zachary Levi and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
He might be the cool one that dies in Ragnarok when she like stabs him.
yeah, I think so.
I I think she like fights his whole army and like leaves him for last again because he's like badass. And I think Taika Waititi was like, "We're not going to do Kakihara like that." Like,
Yeah,
no. But yes,
He's Hogan in there. Yeah,
yes. But Audition, going back to that one, it's the first horror movie I saw that was from a different country, and it opened up my life. It ruined me for a while because I went on. This was my background for horror. I was a extreme cinema fan for a while. So I've seen a Serbian film, Cannibal Holocaust,
hmm
a movie called Necromantic. Like, I've gone through the most disgusting August Underground Mortem, which is the worst movies I've ever seen, shot on VHSs with real gore. Oh, disgusting. But no, Audition was that bitch. It's beautifully made. I would say everyone should check it out. It's a wonderful horror film, and something about Japan, man, the stuff that freaks them out is so different than what freaks us out, and it's
mm.
just interesting of like culturally what offends and what gets under people's skin. And I think it's interesting. Like, they have a lot of things with like fingers, a lot of fingernail stuff, which I don't play with. I don't like that
Yeah,
stuff.
oof,
Um,
oof.
and eyeballs, and that's all in Audition and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it is.
Good movie. Yeah, I don't know if anyone ever listening will ever want to see Audition, but it's a great movie. And then the last 30 minutes come in, and you're like, what is this?
I remember I imported that movie in high school. It wasn't a Japanese import. It was, I can't fucking remember where, but it wasn't an American copy of it. Um, it had English subtitles. I imported that and paid like a ridiculous amount of money for what at the time was a ridiculous amount of money to get Cannibal Holocaust as well. I think I paid
Yeah,
like $35 for a DVD copy of that.
I remember those days of doing that. I had to hunt a Serbian film down because they were like banning it, and that was hard to find.
Yeah, and we double featured Cannibal Holocaust and Audition, like me and my friends for a movie night, and it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I think by the time we got to Audition, I was expecting more from Audition. I was expecting it
Well,
to be more
especially if
fucked
you
up.
watched Cannibal Holocaust first, which
Yeah.
I don't like that movie. Like, there's too much real animal stuff in that movie
Yes,
for
I
me.
don't like the real animal abuse in that. That's really fucking terrible. But there is a lot about that movie that I like on a cinematic level.
And I will say, I think as an homage slash remake, I think Green Inferno by Eli Roth wasn't bad.
Mm.
I think he captured a lot of that. Eli Roth's actually my like soft spot. I love him. Mostly as a person. I think he's one of the coolest people in our industry. And one of the few times I think a Tarantino product has succeeded. Because
Yeah.
Tarantino's tried with a couple people to like take them under his wing and stuff like that. But I think Eli Roth took it to a different level with, I don't know if you are a fan of him, but I think Cabin Fever is such
I
a
like
fun
Cabin
movie.
Fever. Cabin Fever's fucked up.
I think the first Hostel is interesting. I think he does a lot there that shows me promise, and then he goes into Eli Roth, and he was hot as hell as the Bear Jew. So
Yeah, I like
actually
Cabin
pretty good in
Fever
that
and his
movie.
performance as the Bear Jew. Other than that, I'm not a huge Eli Roth fan, but not by virtue of like, oh, I hate everything he's done, just by virtue of like, I haven't followed it that much.
Yeah.
Let's see. We mentioned you mentioned Carpenter earlier while we were talking about Wes Craven. So I have to bring up what is like an absolute favorite of mine, and I think a favorite of most people that are into sci-fi or horror at all. It's his version of The Thing.
This is a movie that I never loved growing up,
Mm-hmm.
but it is like every dude who loves horror, it's in their top 5. It's crazy what this movie like did for like a generation of horror fans that I don't think it connected with me. I love it. Kurt Russell's beautiful hair in that movie is insane. Like that is a man. Like I forgot who you said that about last week.
This is Harrison Ford, but this
Yes.
is the same. Like, yeah, I feel the same. same
He is a
things here, too.
man
Yeah.
in that movie. He's just awesome. I think also God, I always get what Keith David I think is in this,
I think so.
because David Keith is the white one. Yes, Keith David is in this one.
Yes.
Awesome as hell in that too. Their final moments together is one of the most interesting endings of a movie as well.
Yeah.
It's a movie that like I respect more than I admire my personal self, but damn it, Carpenter ate that movie up.
Yeah, because it's
So
just
good.
he was just so good at doing so much with so little.
I mean, Halloween is made for like goddamn potato and like $2, and he made the slasher king. Like it's
Yeah.
insane what he can
Yeah.
do. And his scores are really good too. I think he's an underrated composer as well.
Yeah, because he does a lot of his own scores. He definitely scored Halloween. I think he scored a good bit of The Thing, but I know Ennio Morricone scored it and got official credit for it. But I think
But
Carpenter.
Carpenter's always touching everything.
Yeah,
like,
Carpenter threw a lot of Morricone stuff out, which later got reused to fill in the gaps of the Morricone score for Hateful Eight.
I forgot. I knew one of them was Stole. What a weird, like, incestuous thing there. Like Tarantino borrowing from Carpenter in a weird way. Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that kind of. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I just like that movie. The effects are unsettling. The practical effects that they did.
The dog stuff is the
Yeah.
grossest thing. I look again. We've gone through like Cannibal Holocaust, one of my favorite movies. I'll talk about in a second. Has some extreme gore in it. Nothing got me like that dog. I know it's because it probably is animal based, but just whoever designed that. I don't know the team. I think it's Rick Baker on that team. Disgusting.
Yeah,
those are the minds that I'm like, how? Who told you? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just really unsettling. I like the what was it when they do the reverse? Like they shot the thing in reverse, where they like it's just like the bag of stuff with the tentacles coming out.
Oh
and
yeah.
shit. Ugh.
Yeah, using a real amputee for that moment where they have the arms get bitten off, like just
Ugh.
great moments there from like that's filmmaking. Like that is, and it sucks that like that ruined Carpenter's career. Because Roger Ebert was so mean to that movie. And it tanked at the box office, but I don't know if you know what it opened up against at the box office.
No.
E.T.
Oh, well, no shit.
It's just insane of like what two different alien movies could be in the same weekend, and why it tanked and everything too. But I just laugh that The Thing and E.T. are the same weekend, and I sometimes find E.T. a little bit creepier looking.
That's fair. Yeah, I never really thought about that as ruining Carpenter's career, but I guess
You didn't really. I think he did Escape from New York after,
he did
which
that.
again.
Escape from New York was before that.
But yeah, again, go to Carpenter's career after. There's not much.
No, I mean, and the things that he did that people like really remember or care about, they didn't at the time. Like, I guess Starman was probably the most successful thing he did after that. But like Big Trouble in Little China is great, but I don't think it was a hit.
Same thing. I think Christine is a movie that aged with time. I think people realize it's a pretty decent movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone at the time was just like, oh man. Again, also Stephen King has a weird curse for like everyone hates his movies, and then years later we're like, Cujo wasn't bad. It's like, yeah, morons, like they're good. I don't know people's beef with King sometimes. It's I get it, he's a weird guy, but like his stories are good.
Yeah.
The
for the
core of
most
them.
part, yeah.
The core of them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the kid orgy in it is needed, but like
Yeah.
the core of it's a good movie.
Yeah, but yeah, with Carpenter's weird because like he is overappreciated in some circles. I think underappreciated by and large. But is certainly the most remade director ever. Yeah. I think because I know they remade Assault on Precinct 13. Of course, they remade Halloween, The Fog, The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
They had talked about remaking Escape from New York. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, with The Rock.
Oh, was there one where they were talking about with The Rock?
Which still might be happening, just giving you a heads up.
Lord, because I remember like 10 years ago or better, they were talking about doing it with Gerard Butler, which would have been miserable.
At least The Rock is like an actual action star.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that one a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wish Carpenter was a crazy old person and would let nobody touch his old shit, but like, he also has the problem of he did this to Rob Zombie, where like he was so on board with Rob Zombies after he just bashed it so much. And it's just like, I know you wanted to like be the original hipster because he's very much that kind of vibe with Carpenter.
Yeah.
But like he really I think really hurt Rob Zombie's first film. I don't remember everyone hating it as much until after, where everyone's like, "Oh
that's
yeah,
not a bad movie." I like Rob Zombie's Halloween. I didn't see his two.
Is scary. Like,
yeah.
I don't find the original Halloween scary in the traditional sense. Like, Michael's not a scary person. Rob Zombie's Michael is terrifying.
Yeah. That's fair.
Little and big. Like Dag, who I'm actually like pretty decent friends with. Shout out to Dag, who does listen to this. Is terrifying. Like, is terrifying in that movie. He's like, now he's a professional rapper. But terrifying back then. And Tyler Mane, who does it, it's good. I'm glad we got on a Halloween kick, because I like Halloween as a franchise. That's my mom's favorite. It's not mine. I'm a Friday the 13th kid.
I'm way more of a Halloween person as a slasher series.
See, I'm also from the 90s, where I had to deal with the bad ones with Paul Rudd and all that. And the Buster Blank.
Yeah, those are fucking bad. Like, I don't know. I kind of like 6. It's a piece of shit, but it's weird.
And I like H2O because it's like
I do
fun.
like H2O. H2O
Resurrection
I think
is bad, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Something about the movie. Buster Rhymes, there's a scene in that movie where Buster Rhymes is yelling at Michael dressed as Michael. It's like, it's one of the best scenes in any Halloween movie, and I hate that.
It's fucking terrible. It's silly.
It's so bad, but yes.
Yeah, I mean that is Scream having its effect on Halloween.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at any movie post 1996, everything is meta. I hate what Scream did. As much as I love Scream, what it did for years
fucking ruined.
Honestly,
ruined the genre.
Saw. Literally, Saw is the turning point for horror in a weird way. I think we had the Japanese fetish for a while, where we were remaking everything Japanese.
Yeah, just badly.
But yeah, I think it took us a while to get a new trend after self-aware slashers.
Yeah.
Though,
that is true.
On remakes, I have 2 remakes I want to bring up real quick. I don't know how much more you want to talk about this, but I have 2 more remakes.
Okay.
Evil Dead remake is an amazing remake.
Okay.
Everyone should check it out.
I still haven't watched it yet, though Evil Dead is on my list here. The original still creeps me out just by being stop motion animation will always unsettle me.
Oh god, when they're disintegrating at the end is disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, baby Bruce Campbell, he's so cute in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
But the remake is really good. It's the original spirit of the insane gore and all that, but it's actually scary. Nothing against the original Evil Dead.
Yeah.
That's a product of its time. And
does it have stop motion animation?
No.
Then it's not as scary to me.
It does have fountains and fountains of blood that I admire. It's one of the bloodiest movies I've ever seen.
Awesome.
Like it literally rains blood at the end. But I've talked about that one enough on here. A remake I've never talked about on here, and I love it. I mean, I watched this a lot. 2013, I believe, the Maniac remix starring Elijah Wood. It's all shot in POV.
Okay.
It is the entire movie's in POV, which is it's different because this was around the found footage, the end of the found footage craze. So everyone thought that this was POV and thought found footage. It is not. We are the character. It is the most disgusting, weird, surreal film. I don't know if you know anything about the original Maniac, but it's about a guy who just rips off. It's a mid-'80s slasher. He basically just scalps women. It's pretty This remake goes into the psychology. We start following the character around. We follow one of his victims that he wants, and it's Elijah Wood doing the scariest thing. You just have to go look up the trailer if you can. Anytime after this. It is terrifying what he does. Just his performance in there. Elijah Wood having that cute demeanor that he does, I think he's very cute, is what's unsettling about this because he's very Bundy in a way in this. Where you're like, oh, I want to hang out with him. Like, he owns like this weird mannequin kind of shop where he does like art. I'm like, oh, cute. Oh, no. Oh, he's scalping someone. And watching Elijah Wood scalp women is disgusting. Like, it's crazy. There's also a scene where he hooks up with a girl and what he does. It's a creepy movie, all done in POV. So when you see Elijah Wood, they break the POV once for a very intense moment, but all of it is there. So you just see him through like mirrors and stuff like that. I would say check it out if anyone's ever an Elijah Wood fan and want to see him like stretch Elijah Wood. Maniac remake, I think 2013. Check it out.
Right on. Speaking of Elijah Wood, I think I didn't write it down, and I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but one of the first horror movies I actually sat through, and might have been one of the most unsettling ones to sit through as a kid, as opposed to like ridiculous like fantasy and blood and horror, but The Good Son, fucked me up as a kid.
Yeah. Macaulay Culkin also did that similarly in the movie Party Monster, which is based on a real story of this gay guy who killed a bunch of people or killed somebody in the 90s. Macaulay Culkin can play creepy privileged really well.
Yeah.
They casted him on this season of American Horror Story this year coming up.
Really?
I have such hope because of what he did. I mean, years ago in The Good Son, how creepy and weird he was, and his stuff with Elijah Wood. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, it is. It's unsettling, and I do like that you brought up Party Monster because on my list, I have a movie that has a very similar plot, even though Party Monster is real, is based on real events. But and I struggled to whether or not this is classified as horror. I don't think a lot of people would classify it as such, but I find it incredibly unsettling. And that's Hitchcock's Rope.
Oh, okay. I just referenced that in a review I just did. And that's my favorite Hitchcock movie, so I am so in love with you right now. Like, top tier. His 1949 film is... I like Psycho. I think it's a great movie. Vertigo. None of them, to me, do what Rope does. Rope is creepy as hell.
It is.
Watching two gay men kill somebody because they wanted to.
Yeah. And just...
that's the plot of that.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to kill someone.
Yeah, and they just stash his body in a
seconds.
Yeah. And they just stash his body in a trunk and just have a party. Just have a party.
Yeah,
just so
and
that because they know they can get away with it. Yes.
Yeah, it's all done in one take. Well, seemingly one take. It's beautiful how they like. Again, you wouldn't have the amazing 1917 that just came out without Rope. Like, it is insane of what Hitchcock did then, and filmmakers are still trying to do now. Like, I love Rope a lot. I think it is a horror movie. Again, I struggled with something. When you were describing this, I was thinking of another movie, kind of like Party Monster, kind of like Rope. American Psycho terrifies me.
Okay, yeah.
I love the book. Bret Easton Ellis's book is more of a horror movie than the movie because listening to Bret Easton Ellis rant about white privilege is disgusting. A person who I wanted to admire, but I follow him on social media. I do not.
Yeah, he's kind of trash.
Yeah, he's an interesting writer, but Mary Harmon took that book and said, "I'm gonna make it scary because I'm the woman that he would be attacking." And I
Yeah.
think that's where the film is better. And I don't know, something about that he did it and then gets away with it, quote unquote. Maybe at the end that movie's weird and ends. No one really knows the ending of that movie,
Yeah.
but that terrifies me. Is like he could have possibly gotten away with everything he did, or did he do it? Beauty of that movie. But that's what's creepy about that, and I think those kind of movies really creep me out, where it doesn't have to just directly be a guy in a mask chasing people or ghost or gore. Sometimes people are the creepiest people.
Yeah,
Uh,
honestly, like that is my favorite villains are believable villains, like in horror movies. Like
mhm,
when you're talking monsters and aliens and things like that, yeah, I mean you can do great and scary things with that, but I mean at the end of the day, people can be horrifying.
mhm.
People are like people that actually could exist is way more scary than anything like that.
Well, I also feel that way with movies that dive into like psychological horror, like actual mental illness and horror, which
Hmm.
is something I love about. I'll bring up in a modern example, Hereditary.
Hmm.
I mean, it gets into some paranormal, witchcrafty stuff at one point, but just the idea of mental illness festering in that entire family and what it's done to everyone, like that stuff scares me. And same thing with Invisible Man this year, with the gaslighting and that the abuse of that movie. It's creepy even before we really know there's an invisible man. The movie starts off with a no dialogue. I don't want to say oneer, but it's just like a no dialogue like prologue of watching Elizabeth Banks' character escape. It is more scary than anything else that follows in that movie because you just know if she gets caught by this abuser, she's screwed. Before he gets the suit on, I'm scared of him. That's what I like. So I like that you brought up things like rope and talking about all this stuff where it is again people scare me more than anything.
Yeah. um, and I guess the last thing I had on my list is Eyes Without a Face.
A classic, good pick.
That movie, like, I didn't watch that until much later. I think I only saw it like probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And just as a 1960s like black and white, I believe it's a French film, right?
I believe so, yes.
Um,
Or Swedish, one of those two.
yeah, it's just eerie the whole fucking time.
Hmm.
There is just this sense of creepiness and dread that just pervades the whole thing, like more than in almost any modern movie I've ever seen. Like um, they're able to capture just this horrifying sense. Like it gets hard to watch where you're just like, and it's never like, I mean, it's fucked up for the '60s, but like it's never so fucked up like just in what it shows you visually, but it's just made to feel terrifying.
Oh, it's 100%. I think you brought up a good word. It's the dread in that.
Mm.
It's just genuinely just that heavy and that emotional. Um, it scared me, and I think there's a film with Antonio Banderas that came out a couple years ago, The Skin I Live In,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of reminds me of that in ways. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Check it out. I don't want to spoil anything about The Skin I Live In. It's the same guy who did this movie this year. Oh God, Pain and Glory. Forgot his last name. He's really good. Check it out. It's a good one. I'll end mine with my last on my list is also a French horror movie.
Okay.
Look at us. We're such snobby people. Um, it is a 2008 part of it's called the New French Extremity. It is a era of French filmmaking that was insane. There's this movie called Inside, about this woman who wants this woman's baby inside her belly and she will get it. Also, High Tension was from this era. I don't know.
Yeah.
High Tension was a big movie that most people know. I think it's called Switchblade Romance Everywhere Else.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
High Tension in theaters. I didn't know what the fuck I was getting into, so it ended and I was like, what the fuck
yep.
was that?
So for mine was 2008. It is called Martyrs. It
Okay.
is my favorite horror movie. It's one of the first movies you talked about dread and everything like that. This movie really emotionally shook me. I loved horror movies before that. They're my favorite thing ever. I loved them. But this was the first horror movie that like went inside my soul, grabbed it, and was just like, life means nothing. Have fun. Like it's just It's a dark movie that has everything. There's a psychological element to it. There's a creature kind of thing, but we find out it's not exactly what you think. And then it slides into torture porn. Then it slides into existential dread of like there is nothing in afterlife, blah blah blah. It is insane. I would say Martyrs is the hardest movie I've ever had to watch. A lot of people don't like it because it is nihilistic as hell. I don't. I got a reputation for liking movies like Martyrs that I only liked nihilism. And I'm like, no, John Waters is my favorite director. Chill out, people. I like trashy drag queens yelling about violence and shit. No, but what Martyrs does, and it's just two women, and it's about this company that's trying to create martyrs because they want to figure out the meaning of life. And they decide to use women and the systematic torture they put them through and all that. It's an intense movie. It is just beautiful. And it's one of those first movies, and I think we all have those that we realized. I like Jaws because Jaws made me want to make movies. Martyrs was the first movie that I went, oh man, there's a lot more to film. Like it could really make you sad, depressed. Like it made me feel so many other emotions, and that's why that one sticks with me a lot. I would recommend people watch Martyrs, not the American remake because of course we ruined it.
Yeah.
We don't understand things like nihilism in this country because God, that movie ends so happy. The American remake, the French one does not. It's tough, and I would say watch it if anyone ever wants to. I've suggested like some weird ones, but this would be the one. This and Maniac, I would say, are my two. Seek them, seek them if you like extreme horror.
Right on. I might actually have to check that out at some point just because you've mentioned it several times.
It's that movie. It's truly one of those movies that like I can't believe it stuck with me, and I went to film school like 2 years after, so it definitely kind of shows you what kind of mindset it put me in.
Yeah, that's fair. I have a weird mention because this is not classified by hardly anyone as a horror movie. It's an incredibly stupid movie. By somebody.
Know Showgirls is a horror movie. I understand.
No, and it's by a director that I hate for the most part. But it lured me into thinking that it was a different movie, and that it ended up being pretty horrifying, and it's based off a true story.
I love a good catfish movie. Those are always my favorite, where you're like, I'm sitting in for this. No, I'm not. What is this movie?
Pain and Gain.
Oh, my goodness.
Pain and Gain by Michael Bay.
That movie is kind of oddly, again, you start seeing the psycho-ness of egos and men.
Yeah.
That's what that movie does get a little bit creepy.
Yeah, it's unsettling. Like, you think that you're going to watch this big, stupid fucking... The Rock, Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Mackie just being a bunch of muscleheads doing idiot shit. And then they're torturing people and murdering people and accidentally murdering people. And then like fucking grilling up hands to get the fingerprints off of them and melting bodies and lie. And just like, it just swerves you where if you don't know what you're getting into, it's fucked up. It's certainly not on the filmmaking level of like the past couple things we've mentioned, but it just popped into my mind. I was like, you know what? That thing fucked with me. That movie fucked with me more than it should have.
No, and this is a movie I mentioned a couple times, but I feel the same way about Spring Breakers, where I was like, oh, this movie's about like a bunch of dumb college kids. Oh no, this is about like terrifying women just going crazy and like trying to get power hungry and run Clearwater gangs. Like, it's just interesting. I love those kind of movies where like it's not a horror movie, but like you think about it, it is a horror movie.
Yeah.
I think those are ones that always have stuck with me about like, I don't know, like We Need to Talk About Kevin is a movie a lot of people don't consider a horror movie, but your son being like evil, not even being the Antichrist, just being an evil person, that's scary.
Yeah.
And I like, my best friend made the mistake of watching that movie while she was pregnant, and she said the whole time I was just like, oh, I'm screwed. I am screwed. I would say that's a good one to recommend. Lynn Ramsey is the director. She did You Were Never Really Here with Joaquin Phoenix a couple years ago. I think a beautiful film as well. Another horror adjacent kind of film. But we need to talk about Kevin. Tilda Swinton, Ezra Miller, John C. Reilly as well is so good and it's so heartbreaking. He's so good in that movie. Sidebar: John C. Reilly, an amazing actor. Never enough credit.
Fucking great.
Never enough credit.
I'm not
Again,
a
he's
huge
in a horror
like.
movie. He's in Chicago. He's in Step Brothers.
Yeah,
he's so good.
I'm not a huge like PTA fan, but go watch Hard 8 and then tell me John C. Reilly isn't the most like underutilized actor.
Yeah. Yeah, he might pop up when we do underrated actors because I have feelings about that man, and he should have had a better career.
He really should have. I mean, he works. He's made his money, but like people know him as a
shift to Academy nominee at least already.
Yeah, yeah, he really should have by this point because he's turned in some great fucking performances.
Yeah, and if you've never seen We Need to Talk About Kevin, this is a good one to see him in because he's playing that dad who for a while ignores because he has a son and his son can't be bad. And oh my God, what are you talking about, Tilda Swinton, mom? Like, you're just being stupid. And like, it's that like his character's heartbreaking because you're kind of mad at him at first, and then you're like, no, he's just a dad, and he's so good in that. And again, those are those movies that really scare me because again, people are scary.
Yeah, people are horrifying.
That's the end of this podcast.
Yep. Yay! The most horrifying monster of all is the human being. So you can find us online, of course, flickeringmyth.com. We're part of the Flickering Myth podcast network. You know, something that I wanted to mention because we should probably do more cross promotion. I think last week, or not last week, but last episode we talked about Calm with Horses. And what's the director's name on that? Nick something or other?
Yes.
It's like Nick Rowland, I think is his name.
Yes.
He was on the Pick of the Flicks podcast with Tom Beasley, which is on in this network. He was on like right before the last episode. So go check that out.
Yes.
Yeah. Check out all of the podcasts on this network, but I feel I was listening back through last week's podcast or last podcast, and I was like, oh, I had an opportunity to cross promote that, but I didn't actually remember that. Like I didn't connect the dots whenever I saw his episode go up, and then, but yeah, go check that out. Of course, we're on YouTube. You can find plenty of minis from this podcast. EJ does reviews over there. Not right now, though. There are no reviews to be done.
Yes, I did do a fun video about the worst moments in your favorite comic book movies.
That was a
very fun one, and Alan disagreed with one of my picks, so that was fun.
I did. So yeah, go check that out. He's turning out other videos. You have your own YouTube channel as well. I think it's just EJ Marino, right?
Yep, it's just my name. Go check it out. I review Tiger King. Again, I'm getting to that point where I'm going to start reviewing like the pack of Gushers I just ate because I'm bored.
I also have a YouTube channel with Gerald where it's Mush Brains, where we do video game stuff. That's a good time sometimes.
Oh yes, I like watching them.
Yeah, thanks. What else? You can email us podcast@flickeringmyth.com. Let us know your thoughts on anything we've talked about, or just your general thoughts on anything. You know, just sound off. It's fine.
Yeah, tell me how your day is.
Yeah. So, for the Flickering Myth podcast, I'm Alan Christian.
I'm EJ Marino.
And we will see you next Tuesday.